people like shopping, others don't. For those that do, there's nothing like going through the aisles and looking at all the items on sale and grabbing the things you want, making a mental note of the things you would eventually like to get, or just having a good time browsing. But if you've ever been in a scenario where, say, the power goes out, and now you're stuck in lockdown at the store unless you forfeit your entire cart so you can leave, it's a downright nightmare. Well, what if we added some supernatural events or some psychotic baddies to the mix? Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 horror films taking place in stores. Number 1, Chopping Mall. Absolutely nothing can go wrong, Dr. Carrington says at the beginning, during his presentation about these protector robots that are supposed to serve and protect Park Plaza Mall. When I first heard of this film, I really thought it was about some kind of serial killer going around the mall and, killing people in brutal ways. This is so far from the reality of this film. A bunch of teens working at the mall decide to stay after close to hang out and do what teens do. But these protector robots have already started killing people, mainly the technicians and whoever else they come in contact with. After one of the teens dies, his girlfriend is screaming, running from this robot in a shirt and panties, only for her head to be blasted off. And the rest know what's coming now. It's a fight for survival, and may the best win. Important little tidbit. They're trapped on the top 3 floors of like a 7-story mall, so they literally have nowhere to go, and there's only 3 of these damn robots. But these robots look so damn familiar, I couldn't place it. But then I had a bit of a nostalgia moment, and it kind of reminds me of a cross between the T2s in the Terminator and Alpha from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The acting is typical 80s with more emphasis on delivering cheesy lines among some pretty bizarre special effects. However, the kills are and it's easy to tell that not a lot went into this film, but it is definitely worth more of a laugh than anything. 1986 really had a lot of hit or misses, and sometimes with independent horror films, it's more of a miss. However, it is produced by Julie Corman, late wife of Roger Corman. So there's at least some potential here, but you can have some fun shopping on Zumo, Tubi, Pluto, Philo, The CW, Prime, AMC+, Fubu, Sling, and Roku. Number 2, Dawn of the Dead. Originally, this film was made in 1978 by George A. Romero. But in 2004, Zack Snyder directed the remake, and that's the film I'll be talking about. Following a group of survivors during the zombie apocalypse, they're stranded in a local mall. They secure the mall using any of the items they can find to protect themselves and others as they also make their way into the mall. One of the women was pregnant when she arrived, and after shit hits the fan, she's tied up and eventually gives birth. But it's not to a normal human baby. It's a zombie. That was honestly my biggest question back in the day, but I digress. Once a member of the group kills the zombie mother, the husband then goes apeshit, and a gunfight breaks out. Eventually, the situation dies, and they kill the baby. Well, they realize not long after that there's been a breach to the mall, and the group ends up fleeing to a little island somewhere in Lake Michigan. The entire time the group is in the mall, the resources they use were usually pretty practical, but sometimes not so much. Example, using guns from the local sports store, first aid stuff from random places, new clothes, new shoes, food. And when this movie came out and said that it takes place in Milwaukee, I was dumbfounded because there is no place that looks that nice in Milwaukee. Maybe one of the suburbs, but definitely not the city. Nor did we have a mall that nice. Anyway, the cast is what brought this film together, starring Sarah Polley, Ving Rhames, Jake Weber, Mekhi Phifer, and Ty Burrell, each portraying the characters effortlessly. So take a trip to Google Play, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango to see the zombified Milwaukee. Number 3, Night of the Comet. In 1984, Tom Eberhardt wrote and directed this science fiction comedy horror that inspired Buffy Summers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Just a little random tidbit I found out and wanted to share. But anyway, in the film, it starts off 11 days before Christmas, and there's a comet that's been circling the planet and is said to be an extinction event, similar to the comet that took out the dinos. Well, Reggie is working at a movie theater when her boyfriend wants her to help him borrow a movie reel, so the two decide to spend the night in the projection room, which is a steel-cased room. Reggie's sister Sam gets into a fight with her stepmom and ends up spending the night in the shed that's also encased in steel. The next morning, they wake up to an entirely different world. There's a red fog over everything, and there are zombies. Eventually, the girls end up in a mall, trying to get more clothing and weapons, having a blast, trying on clothes, dancing, and just being sisters. However, a group of stock boys come and break up their little party. To me, this scene is hilarious because you have Reggie using a gun, but Sam was taken away, and now she's throwing shoes at these guys. Eventually, tries dropping a TV on them, but to little avail. She's taken by the group, and Reggie surrenders to save her sister. Now, this is also where I have a little problem, considering descriptions say that these boys are zombies. But I have never heard of an aware, smart, even vocal zombie until many years later in some kids' movies. But I just have to really know if they are zombies. Who wants to explain this? There's so much more that goes on, but they do spend a good amount of time in this mall trying to survive and hopefully get rescued. To me, it's really interesting to take a trip back 40 plus years to see how the world thought of things back then. And this one kind of takes the cake. Catherine Mary Stewart and Kelly Maroney are the embodiment of 80s teens. So take some time to check this out on Tubi, Pluto, Roku, Plex, MGM Plus, Fubu, Sling, Prime, or Philo. Number 4, Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bolorama. This is one of those it's so bad it may be considered good and does have a cult following. But really, this film screams B-rate film with the bad acting, horrible plot, and just it being that dumb. Not gonna lie though, it was hilarious to watch. This 1988 comedy horror was loosely based on the short story, The Monkey's Paw. We follow a group of sorority girls during initiation, and a couple of nerdy guys who are spying on them. The three main girls end up tasking all the others to steal a trophy from the local bowling alley, which is located in a mall, and one of the girls' dads owns it. So they go to the mall, meet another person, and they successfully get their hands on the trophy. But they drop it, and out pops an imp. Now, there are variations as to what an imp is, but in this case, it's a small demon who is also a prankster. This imp decides to tell them he can grant any wish, and it seems like it's happening. But in all reality, it's just a prank. They really don't get what they ask for, and things turn out deadly. Between the characters killing each other or just randomly dying, we find out that the imp was trapped in the trophy 30 years prior due to the one who wanted to win a bowling tournament. Most of this all takes place within the bowling alley, and it's kind of nostalgic to see an old bowling alley, even if it's in a mall. There's really not a whole lot to say about this film, other than you have to give it a go. And you can over on Tubi, Sling, AMC Plus, Prime, or Philo. And let me know your favorite part. Number 5, The Mist. Frank Darabont wrote, produced, and directed this 2007 cosmic horror adaptation of Stephen King's novella of the same name, with such finesse that I was floored. I absolutely love the Lovecraftian monsters, the family dynamics, and a gut-wrench ending that was changed from the original works. In the film, we follow the Drayton family as their house is destroyed during a storm, causing them to go into town to get supplies the next day. They end up in a supermarket with a bunch of others as it's engulfed in a mysterious mist. One of the town's residents comes bursting through the doors, claiming there are dangerous things in the mist and to not go out in it. One of the mothers leaves to go get her children and is never seen again. A religious fanatic claims this is the work of God and they are being punished and yada yada. Anyway, as time goes on, some of the people follow this crazy woman's belief and eventually she ends up getting killed because they realize she's more of a danger than anything else. Monsters have been breaking through the glass of the store, killing others and wounding them. Turns out, this mist was a military experiment gone wrong. And after people start dying, it's time to flee the supermarket. This group really used the store for a good base of operations, if you will. They were able to keep the creatures out for quite some time and hold their ground, hoping they could survive it. However, hope is usually diminished as time goes on and people have to make the hard choices. I won't spoil this ending if you haven't seen it, but I want to know if you think David was in the right or the wrong in his choices throughout the film. If you haven't seen it and want to join in on the discussion, you can check out The Mist on Peacock, Hulu, Fubo, Sling, Paramount Plus, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 6, Hide and Go Shriek. I'll say, this was not what I expected, and I really don't know what that is. The 1988 slasher that Skip Skolnick had his directorial debut with is definitely a first go at things. I just don't know what to think about this. So let me explain. We follow 8 teens after graduation and breaking into a furniture store that's owned by one of their dads, begin drinking and decide to play hide and seek. During round 2, 2 of the teens go missing, and as the others regroup, they decide to go looking for them, but never find them. Later that night, as 2 of them are in bed, a man dressed in their friend's clothes comes up, causing the other friend to go chasing after him. Well, the guy in the friend's clothes impales a mannequin's arm through the other friend's stomach. I'm still trying to figure out, as I've worked with mannequins, and I just don't find that plausible. Trust me, I sat here writing this and constantly trying to figure this out, but I digress. The teens make good use of the store to hide and defend themselves against the estranged killer. They end up finding an ex-con who's living in the store, and the teens tie him up because they think he's the killer. Makes sense, right? Well, not too long after that, the killer makes an appearance, and shit hits the fan. I really did like the twist at the end of it. Almost kind of bittersweet, but I feel it just lacked the chemistry needed to make it more relatable. Still, it's worth a watch over on Tubi, Roku, Fandango, Plex, or Prime, and let me know what you thought of this. Number 7, P2. Rachel Nichols and Wes Bentley star in this 2007 psychological horror that blew my mind. Recently, there's been the man versus bear debate that most men can't seem to understand. However, this is one of those films that can open up that conversation. We follow Angela as she's getting ready to leave work late on Christmas Eve to go spend some time with her family. Unfortunately, her car doesn't start, and she goes to ask the security guard if he can help her out. He's unable to, and she ends up calling for a taxi, but soon learns she can't get out of the building. The taxi ends up leaving, and then everything shuts down, leaving Angela in the dark, with the security guard not too far behind her to knock her out and chain her to a table in the restaurant. He goes on to claim that he loves her despite her sins, then forces her to call her family and fake some kind of illness so they don't come looking for her. She ends up being handcuffed and tries to escape his clutches, but doesn't happen. He later reveals one of her co-workers strapped to a chair, claiming that he's this horrible man for touching her inappropriately while drunk one night. The guy knew he was in the wrong and apologized, but the security guard did worse to her. If you know, you know. Now, the security guard ends up crashing his car into the coworker several times, and then goes to dispose of the body, leaving Angela able to escape and try to get out of this building. The security guard is relentless though. Even pulls out the fucked up lines of, "I love you, I just don't want to be alone anymore." Just making it seem like he's doing this out of what he thinks is love. Sorry to break it to you, but that's not the kind of shit we want to hear. Especially if it's followed up with insults and degradation, just like this security guard does. Now let me be clear, it's not all men that are like this. But I can't tell you how many times I've heard "I love yous" followed by angry insults, or the pity me party to try to get me to believe the world is against somebody. But this film really shows women don't know who to trust, and even though it may be the security guard, they could still do a lot of harm to us. Sorry, getting off topic. Angela was one of the lucky ones and was able to escape. So yay, happy ending? I don't know. Anyway, you can check this out on Tubi, Pluto, Roku, Fandango, The CW, Prime, Plex, VIX, Fubo, Google Play, and Apple TV. Number 8, Intruder. This 1989 film, written and directed by Scott Spiegel, really brought back some memories for me. I will say, I did not see this back when it was released, obviously. However, when I did watch it, it was much later and a rewatch just recently. We follow a group of supermarket workers as they shut down the store for the night, when the cashier gets into an argument with her boyfriend and is eventually thrown out. The crew is then told that the store was sold and they have to begin reducing the prices of things in the store, and that they will no longer have jobs. After one of the girls leaves, she's killed by an unknown assailant, and the co-owner sees somebody trying to sneak in, only to find the boyfriend from before watching his girlfriend from the bathroom window. The boyfriend is knocked out, and soon, body parts start showing up around the store, and the killer makes himself known to the girlfriend. I'm not gonna tell you who it is. That would be cheating. But anyway, this girl is running for her life in a grocery store, using whatever methods she can to stay alive. And when she finally gets out and into her car, she stabs the killer with the knife that was left in her friend's body in her car. I can say this brought back some memories. And no, I've never lived through a slaughter like this, but one of my first jobs was at a grocery store, and the owners decided to close the store because it wasn't making them enough money, leaving an entire community left in the dust. I felt so bad for those customers, and get pissed to this day because they will not sell the land to anybody who wants to build a store there. I understand the connections you make with people in smaller stores like that, from the co-workers to the customers, and have developed lifelong friendships with some of those people. But the movie is so worth the watch. The kills alone were great late 80s gore. Fabulous. So check it out on Tubi, AMC Plus, Sling, Roku, Prime, and Philo. Number 9, Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. 1989 had some very interesting movies, and this slasher, directed by Richard Friedman, is one of those interesting ones that left me in awe. I don't necessarily mean that in a good way or a bad way, just aw. We follow Melody as she and a friend get jobs at the mall, and she has to fend off random weirdos who come on a little too strong. But something keeps happening to those people, and they turn up dead. Like the mugger, who's actually the pianist at the mall, or the owner's son who harasses Melody's friends, ends up dying from a kind of unique death. I'm curious to know what you think. Lo and behold, we learn of Eric, a boy who apparently died in a house fire just before the mall was built. He takes an interest in Melody and leaves her little gifts and protects her from all the evils of the world. A reporter is now interested in Melody, and Eric does not like this. Eric tells him that he planted a bomb underneath the mall, and Melody has no choice but to be with him forever. There's a lot of random kills in this film that make the plot so much more bearable. I did not hate this one, but I could have gone on not seeing it. I want to hear your thoughts on this film, so make sure to check it out on Google Play, Prime, or Apple TV. Number 10, Black Friday. This has got to be one of the most accurate films depicting Black Friday in retail. Well, minus the hordes of actual zombies. Devon Sawa, Ivana Baquero, Ryan Lee, Michael J. White, and Bruce Campbell star in this 2021 horror comedy that's just brilliant in its own way. Taking place on Thanksgiving 2021, store employees show up to start the ritual of people giving thanks one minute to being the ugliest they can be the next. All for the sake of a deal. At We Love Toys, the toy store this all takes place in, there was already some questionable disappearances from some of the backroom employees, and then even one of the floor guys. Before the store even opens, we know that there's this little blob-like thing lurking in the shadows, and it seems the customers outside aren't doing too well. When they enter the store, it's a mad rush, and shortly after, they start turning and attacking others. The small group of employees tries to hunker down and stay safe, but we know that never works. It becomes an all-out battle of your everyday person against a zombie. Eventually, a giant-ass one takes over the store. There are tons of one-liners and just little things that had me cracking up. I don't know if that's because I've worked in retail on Thanksgiving into Black Friday, or if it's actually funny. Either way, there are some truths in this film. Now, we have known that zombies are a representation of consumerism, and it's a genius idea to really overtake one of the biggest shopping days of the year. All these shoppers turn, even some of the employees. But yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about this film. One of the guy even tells a little tale of how when he got the job, he ran home to tell his dad, and the dad says, "Welcome to corporate hell." Can we say accurate? This is one film you really should watch, which you can on Sling, Roku, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. And be ready for some laughs. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at Studios Fat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. We're also now on Blue Sky. You can find us at studiosfat.bsky.social, which will also link below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again and take care.